Okay, I think we are settling in with just a few more trickling in. We'll go ahead and get started. We've got a long agenda here, so want to make sure we get to the presentation. Thank you for joining us for this month's Lunch and Learn series on registered apprenticeships targeting the clean energy industry. I am Richard Lawrence, Senior Director at IREC, the Interstate Renewable Energy Council. We are the lead on the Apprenticeships in Clean Energy Network, joined today by Cynthia Walker, who is a senior consultant with IWSI America. They are a partner with us on our Apprenticeships in Clean Energy, or ACE Network project, as a consultant with the Department of Labor. Cynthia has extensive experience across the apprenticeship space, particularly in youth apprenticeships, and has her own company called Career Ways as well that does a lot of support for people in that, in addition to being a consultant at IWSI. So IWSI helps us a lot with our technical assistance. They're the lead on this webinar series on developing the content with us. So we're pleased to have Cynthia join us today. Go over a quick introduction here. We do have closed captioning enabled, so if you do need that support or want to read along as we're discussing, you can enable that down at the bottom of your screen. We do keep all the listeners on mute for the webinar, just to make sure we can get through all the content, but we definitely welcome your questions, and we will work to answer those as much as possible towards the end of the presentation. Please go ahead and use the Q&A tab. There you'll see two tabs down at the bottom, one for Q&A. The chat is also still there, so you can talk there, leave comments, and general chat discussion. But if you've got a question for the presenters, we ask that you put that in that Q&A tab. We'll get to those. Our policy is not to allow AI recordings on our webinars, but the webinar will be recorded, or is being recorded, as you should have seen when you logged in. And then we will be sharing that and posting it on our website. So we will also email you out a copy of that and the link to where you can view the recording on the website. Actually looking, I don't see that it says it's recording on my end. Oh, there it is. Okay, just confirming. Thanks. All right. So we will follow that up. I do also need to kick off our presentation saying this, with our funding and report and disclaimer. Our apprenticeship related activities are funded by the federal government, both the U.S. Department of Labor with our industry intermediary contract, which is primarily supporting this webinar series here. We also do a lot of outreach and engagement for the solar industry around apprenticeships under a Department of Energy project, working to get more veterans into the solar industry. So also funded in part by the Department of Energy there. While this is funded by the government, we do not represent the government and in the talk. So you can read the rest of that. And as we said, this is part of a monthly webinar series, so we are working to educate broadly. This gives us a opportunity to delve deep into some of the topics. And today, as you saw, we're looking at the apprenticeship standards. So understanding what those standards are, what the options for developing standards or joining programs and things like that. So really looking at that, that is the core piece of what guides the whole apprenticeship program that an apprentice will be going through and that an employer would be participating in or running. So we'll get that deep dive here today. Next month, we will be zooming in even a little bit more into those standards, into the work process schedules, which really defines what that apprentice is going to learn on the job and what the employer is responsible for discussing there. I think we'll probably touch on related instruction during that as well, but definitely, digging into those work process schedules. So check your calendar, log in here on that page. All our previous ones are stored there. This one, when we're done with it, will be on that same page, so you'll be able to access it there, and you can register for any of the other upcoming. You can see the other topics that we've got coming up through the rest of this series. So I encourage you to take a look at that page there. As we said, this is a project of the Apprenticeships in Clean Energy, or ACE network, and this is a Department of Labor contract to serve as an industry intermediary for the clean energy industry. I mentioned that IREC is working closely with IWSI America as our real technical assistance partner here. But we've got a lot of other partners on the project, reaching out to various industry stakeholders through our trade association partners with the Solar Energy Industries Association, the Building Performance Association, Renewables Forward, and the Arkansas Advanced Energy Foundation. We're reaching out to colleges and educational institutions with the Create Energy Center and the HBCU Clean Energy Initiative. We've got other partners looking at recruitment pathways and lots of support here for finding funding and other things through our partners. So we encourage you to get involved with the network, get our support. What we do is outreach and education, like this webinar. We do lots of sessions to educate people. That includes webinars like this that are open, but also one-on-one, consultation directly with you to provide that education and support. And then that leads into additional technical assistance. So we can help you, navigate the process, get programs registered, and help with that, understanding your administration and compliance aspects, and a real key piece to helping with recruitment, connecting with a variety of candidates across the, in your region where you're looking to hire. And we do also have some financial assistance. So if you are looking to get a program started, if you have a newly created program, need some help getting it going, we've got some financial assistance that can help get you over some of those initial hurdles of starting to participate. Mentioned the recruitment and the connections, the partnerships. One of the things we're doing is, and all the resources and education we have, a lot of this information is all housed in our Green Workforce Connect web platform. We're building this out, adding a lot more apprenticeship content. We're also starting to now add new programs into the directory listing. So we'll be reaching out to you to populate that directory. It's a great place for job seekers who are looking to get into apprenticeship to find the programs that are out there. But also, if you're an educational provider or an employer looking to partner with educational institutions, we're also trying to connect those programs together to build those partnerships too. So encourage you to check out our Green Workforce Connect website. You got your QR codes there. Again, you'll get these links when we share it next week, but pretty easy one, greenworkforceconnect.org. So please check that site out. Okay, now we're going to kick off. I'm going to pass it over to Cynthia. Again, put your questions in the Q&A so that we can keep track of those as we're going through. And she's going to kick it off with a poll. I think Michelle's going to help us launch that as soon as you give that intro there, Cynthia. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Richard. Eric, thank you so much for having IWSI America join you on this endeavor. Welcome everyone to this webinar. I hope that you're relaxed and you're ready to jump on board here. We are very excited about what our nation is doing in the realm of apprenticeships, and just want to encourage you to lean into IREC. They are subject matter experts. They are ready to come alongside of you. But just starting out, just being a teacher, I just would like to know where our audience is right now. Where are you in this process? So what is your current status in apprenticeship program development? So are you still looking for a flight? Are you interested, still learning, researching? Are you in a place where you are just purchasing the ticket, you're at the gate, you need some assistance, you're not quite on board yet, but you pretty much are getting some of the pieces in place, you have the people ready to lead, but just not quite sure what to do next? Are you on the plane, ready to take off? You have registered, you're just awaiting next steps. That would be number 3. Are you flying the plane and building at the same time? That's where I was when I started in this process back in 2018. Was hired in, and they had already worked on the beginning part. We had the funding, but we did not know how in the world to get started, how to get moving. So maybe that is where you are. Or maybe you are just a veteran at this. You are flying high. You're actually a pilot. You're ready to help other people in this big apprenticeship family, expanding. You're partnering with IRAC. So that would be number 5. And then maybe you're just in another category that's in between these spaces. And so wherever you are, we are hoping to meet you right where you are at. So what we're hoping is, out of the many people that are participating today, you will see that you're not alone. So everyone has been where you are, and we have the coaches available to come alongside and assist you. I would like to also just kind of start out telling you that really my experience started with the Registered Youth Apprenticeship, as Richard had referenced earlier. We had just received a grant. They did not know where to start. They basically threw the rapids and all of the guidelines and all of the rules for U.S. Department of Labor, which honestly scared me to death. I'm like, oh my goodness, what if I mess this up? And who's here to coach me? Who's here to help me? But as you will experience with IRAC, I had many people come around me to give me the support that I needed to help launch Registered Youth Apprenticeship here in my state of Missouri. So just know that we are here to help you wherever you are at. So next slide, please. And Michelle, whenever you get those results, just pop right in here on me and let me know whenever those polls come out, because
Yep.
I would like to see where everybody is. That's really exciting. So,
I just shared them.
okay. So we are, okay, looks like the majority is you're just at the very beginning stages. Some are, okay, this is great. We've got some veterans online. Great. You can help jump in and teach us a few things. This is great. All right. Well, thank you so much. So just today, we're going to be talking a little bit about the key components of your standards. We're going to go over some of the development processes, just really kind of a high view of step-by-step guidelines. And then we're going to go through and talk a little bit about resources and support. Next slide, please. So some of the questions we're going to be covering specifically are, what are registered apprenticeship standards and why are they important? The roles of key stakeholders and standards with that development process. So again, I refer to these people as your coaches. There are so many people that have different roles within this apprenticeship family. The Department of Labor being one of them, that kind of is our overseer, our big umbrella. They have amazing personnel on board with them that are ready to assist you. But then, of course, we have intermediaries like IRAC who are just, that is what they are here for. They have been hired by Department of Labor to come in alongside of you and help you build out your program and then help you expand and explore. So many other stakeholders we'll be talking about in this webinar. And then also we're going to be defining just some of the occupational competencies and some of the related technical instruction that can be covered throughout learning about what exactly these standards are. We're not going to take a deep dive into the standards because I believe that's next month's focus. So hang on, we're going to run through this real quick, but we want to start out, next slide, please, with a video. The Department of Labor has created an incredible academy that you can find online at apprenticeship.gov. And they go through just some really great quick modules. This one is wonderful. And I love how they teach concisely how to be able to understand some of these concepts. So I just thought we would go straight to the Department of Labor. It's about a 7-minute video, and we can watch and learn from them. So please start the video. Thank you, Michelle. Are y'all able to hear anything?
This module, you'll be able to explain
Did-
the registered
do we miss it?
apprenticeship
The
standards
audio until
outlined
now?
Yeah, let's start back over. I don't know that everyone was able to hear it.
by ident-
All right.
Sorry. Got to catch the beginning, y'all.
Yeah, we'll give that a try here again.
All right.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Code of Federal Regulations, Title 29 CFR, Part 29, provides the labor standards for the registration of apprenticeship program. When building a registered apprenticeship program, your registered apprenticeship standards are the agreement, guidelines, and requirements that comprise the foundational elements of your program and meet the federal regulatory requirements. This module will cover the standards regulations outlined in 29 CFR Part 29.5. As you progress through this module, you will be able to explain the registered apprenticeship standards outlined in the federal regulations, and you will be able to identify resources that are available to help you develop registered apprenticeship standards. So what are registered apprenticeship standards? Registered apprenticeship standards illustrate the required elements of a program that sponsors agree to when they sign on to become a registered apprenticeship program. The registered apprenticeship standards are the written documents that outline the terms of that registered apprenticeship program, and they make it clear to all parties. This includes DOL, the DOL-funded intermediary, sponsors, employers, apprentices, or other stakeholders of the specifics of how the program will operate. Requirements associated with the standards of registered apprenticeship are defined in CFR Title 29, Part 29, Section 5. According to 29 CFR 29.5, Subpart A, to be eligible for approval and registration by the U.S. Department of Labor or a state apprenticeship agency, an apprenticeship program must conform to the following standards. The program must have an organized written plan. This plan will define the terms and conditions of employment, training, supervision of one or more apprentices in an apprenticeable occupation. The plan also must be subscribed to by a sponsor who has undertaken to carry out the apprenticeship training program. Registered apprenticeship standards help ensure that all parties involved understand the expectations for success, and they provide clear guidelines for quality programming and ensuring the safety, welfare, wage progression, and successful completion for all apprentices. Specifically, 29 CFR 29.5 Subpart B outlines what provisions must be included in the standards plan. This slide shows the 23 different provisions that are required. The regulations provide more detail about each of these provisions, and the regulations should be used as a guiding resource when you are designing a registered apprenticeship program. To assist you with writing program standards, there are people and resources available to help. Each state or territory agency has staff who you can work with and who understand the regulations and nuances of building standards for different types of registered apprenticeship programs. Also, the Office of Apprenticeship provides several tools and resources to make registered apprenticeship standards development much easier. In some states, the authority for registered apprenticeship programs falls with the DOL Office of Apprenticeship. These states are known as OA states, and in other states, that authority falls with state apprenticeship agencies. These are known as SAA states. This map shows a breakdown of authority across the country. If you are building a program in an OA state, work with the apprenticeship and training representative or state director in your state. Or you may begin the process of developing standards on your own by utilizing Standards Builder. If you are building a program in an SAA state, check with the local agency to identify the appropriate process for developing your standards, as they may have different processes than OA states. You can find points of contact for each state and regional office on apprenticeship.gov. Standards Builder is a user-friendly online tool available to all programs operating in OA states and in those SAA states that utilize RAPIDS. The Office of Apprenticeship has created Standards Builder as an easy way to quickly customize and register your program in a single centralized place. Using Standards Builder ensures that you are designing programs that meet the most recent updates to the boilerplate standards of apprenticeship. To access Standards Builder, click on the Standards Builder link on www.apprenticeship.gov under the Employers tab. Standards Builder walks you through a few questions about your organization and asks you to identify the occupations you wish to design your program around. Then it guides you through questions that will help you outline and define the standards that your program will adhere to. A draft version of your registered apprenticeship standards is generated in Standards Builder, and it will be reviewed for approval by the U.S. Department of Labor. DOL also provides boilerplate templates that outline the requirements for registered apprenticeship standards if you are not using Standards Builder. You can find the most up-to-date boilerplates in DOL Bulletin 2022-17. DOL-funded intermediaries and their associated programs should stay up to date with changes to registered apprenticeship standards. These changes will be reflected in DOL bulletins and will also be updated within Standards Builder. You can find DOL bulletins on www.apprenticeship.gov under the Resources tab. Click on Legislation, Regulations, and Guidance, and then find Bulletins on the menu. For more information, visit apprenticeship.gov or contact us at raacademy@dol.gov.
Okay, so that pretty much covers
Code of Federal
what we're
Regulations, Title 29 CFR, Part 29,
Yes,
provides the labor standards for the registration of apprenticeship program. When building a registered apprenticeship program,
come on.
your registered apprenticeships, the Code of Federal
He really wants to keep teaching us all about the standards, doesn't he? That's great. Okay, so I'm going to give you the answers to our questions. In order to understand the fundamentals.
Code of
There we go.
That's okay. It's okay. This happens to all of us, I'm sure, if you've ever done these kind of things before. It's all good. So what are the registered apprenticeship standards and why are they important? That video really goes through a great job of explaining what that is. But basically, your standards is your regulatory framework for your apprenticeship program. There's a boilerplate. There's some things that are not going to change within those standards that are just across all apprenticeship programs. But then you can go in and look at the 23 different specific provisions. And we're going to try to jump into those a little bit later on today. But that's basically what your standards are. And he went over a little bit with the Standards Builder. I would encourage you can go in there and just kind of get a feel for it and look at it. But I do encourage you to reach out to your IREC representative and have them assist you just in the beginning stages, just so that you have the pieces that you'll need to be able to put into that Standards Builder. I do believe that your last webinar went over the glossary and the terms. So I'm sure if you're new to this, like I was, some of these terms might not be very familiar for you. So I would encourage you to go back and watch the webinar that IREC did last month on the glossary and terms, just so that you can understand what some of these things mean. So the purpose of our standards is to serve as an agreement between sponsors and Department of Labor. And sponsors can be all kinds of roles. That can be the educators, a related instruction provider can also be a sponsor, for example. You can have nonprofits, you can have the actual employer as a sponsor. Then we have intermediaries that also serve as sponsors. So the opportunity to become a sponsor and to develop your standards is really very open, and so many opportunities are available as far as being able to become a sponsor. Clarifying your program operation specifics for all stakeholders. And then it also just ensures the expectations for success and the quality of your programming, safety, wage progression. Again, we'll go through some of those 23 provisions. But at the end of the day, it's about promoting successful completion of our apprentices. We are here for our people. We are here to help apprentices achieve their goals, being able to help employers fulfill that necessary skills gap that they have within their organizations. And as we've seen across the nation, apprenticeship is proving a 93 retainment rate across the board. And so definitely something that we want to develop with the quality insurance and the assurance that Department of Labor provides us through successful apprenticeship programs. Next slide, please. So the next question is, what are the roles of the key stakeholders in the standards development process? So he went over a little bit about what an OA state is and what an SAA state is. It's basically who is overseeing the different registration agencies, depending on what state you are in. If you don't know what agency you are to work with, again, get a hold of IRAC. They can help you be able to bring up the map. They can help you be able to navigate through who you need to speak to. Again, kind of going back to how I started this, you have a lot of coaches ready, waiting on the sidelines. Your OA and SAA representatives, oh my goodness, they are amazing resources. They want to see you succeed, and they are available for questions and all of those things. So just take a deep breath. We have a lot of people ready to help you. Apprenticeship.gov is going to be your best friend. There's so much information that you can go on and be able to discover about what is going on currently with apprenticeships. Everything from grants to opportunities to growth to new occupations. That is also where you will find the occupations that are available. The national program standards that are developed by IRAC and the ACE partners, again, start there, y'all. Like, this is where they will be able to help you navigate through this so much more efficiently, and just save you a lot of time, honestly. Next slide, please. Okay, so defining the occupational competencies and related instruction. Again, we're going to take a high view on this today, but we want there to be clear and measurable learning objectives, and then also defining on-the-job learning. So we're going to break down 23 of these elements real quickly, and then we're going to have an opportunity at the end for question and answer. And we have a lot of subject matter experts that are joining us today. So hopefully we'll be able to get through some of your questions. And if not, again, we are available to answer those whenever we're offline. All right, next slide, please. Okay, again, this program it's just an organized written plan. I think we covered that pretty clearly. Again, if you have questions about what exactly the program standards are, we can go back and meet with you on that. Next slide, please. This is just talking a little bit about what is required for these to contain. So we're going to start with the first two here. There's employment and training of the apprentice in a skilled occupation, and then the terms of the apprenticeship. All right, next slide, please. So there's three different types of apprenticeships. So they're a little self-explanatory here. One is time-based. So it's measuring the skill acquisition through the individual apprentice's completion of a minimum of 2,000 hours of on-the-job learning as described in a work process schedule. So most of our apprenticeships start out with a 2,000 hour minimum, but again, going back to that occupation list, different occupations have a different amount of hours that are required for the journeyman level for that apprenticeship. So again, lean in on your people. They will help you understand what that looks like. Going to competency-based, this is the approach that we are finding many, especially school districts and training facilities are using when they're sponsoring, because it's easier to be able to determine if that person should be completed. Regardless of how many hours someone can put into an occupation does not necessarily mean that they're competent in that occupation. And so we have really use the competency based a lot in some of the programs that I've helped develop. It's basically just looking at their attainment of their manual, mechanical, and technical skills and knowledge. They either can change the oil or not. They remember to put the oil filter on or not. They do it so many times, they are able to be able to change the oil at the end of the day. And they are able to do that on their own without having assistance, and the employer is confident in their abilities is basically what competency comes down to. And then the hybrid approach, it's just the best of both of those examples. So taking the hours and the minimum number of hours and then on-the-job learning for the successful demonstration of competency. So very, very clean and clear there, 3 different ones to choose from. And again, when you go into the occupation list, you'll be able to see how they are, how they're classified. So again, IREC will be able to help you determine that. Next slide, please. Okay, the determination of the appropriate occupation, that is, this does require approval by your registration agency. So I just want to make sure we emphasize that. You will be working alongside people with IREC, but at the end of the day, your registration agency is the one who will approve your final standards. Again, we're there to help you, but y'all, there's thousands of occupations to be able to choose from. The sky's the limit, and there's also opportunities to be able to create a very specified occupation around what your industry is needing. So, all right, next slide, please. All right, so there's a work process that's outlined. When I am working with people, especially those that are just at the very beginning of this process, I encourage them to get the job description and then the key duties that are related to that job description from the employer. That just helps your coaches basically help you determine what occupation aligns with that that opportunity. And so just making sure that you're looking at the supervised work experience, the on-the-job training, and then approximate time allocation to be spent on each of those processes. So you're really looking at the duties within the job occupation. And so again, those are lined out in what we'll call an Appendix A, but I believe that's next month. So we won't take too much more time on that. Related instruction, these are just the technical subjects that are related to the occupation. So for every year of your apprenticeship, there is a minimum requirement of 144 hours. Again, some occupations require more related instruction, but as you know, just as a rule of thumb, pretty much it's 144 hours for each year of the apprenticeship is recommended. So in order to have an instructor that's approved for this related instruction, they need to meet all of your state's Department of Education requirements for being an instructor and having that state registration, or they can be subject matter experts. So that is, again, a conversation you need to have with your registration agency and also with your IREC representative. Also having a training in teaching techniques and adult learning styles, that's always something that, you know, we want to be able to provide these individuals with the best possible knowledge going into the occupation that they've chosen, but also just having that confidence and having a place where they can go back and ask questions and be able to continue to learn. Next slide, please. So the wage schedule, this absolutely has to be, it has to be more than minimum wage. So rule across the board, it cannot be below minimum wage. Also understand that that starting wage, if you have an employer that is, so let's use, for example, we're starting an apprentice out at $18 an hour, but the employer has looked at this individual, they've seen their instruction, they've seen some of their experience, and they want to start them at $20 an hour. That is just a minimum starting wage. That employer has the ability and the freedom to be able to start that apprentice out at a higher wage if they so determine. It just cannot be lower than what you determine on your Appendix A to be that starting wage. So whatever that starting wage is that's your ground floor, but then there's growth from there. And there must show a progressive increase in that wage over the duration of the apprenticeship. You will be getting a periodic review, and that's just an evaluation, which you normally do with your employees. There's going to be just an evaluation of their performance, their on-the-job just performance, and then just the maintenance of the records that are required. And the records for maintenance is not very much. It is not overly complicated. That is one of the things that terrified me, to be honest with you. There's a lot of just information about individuals that's included in there. Rapids is a place where we keep our data, but also just the paperwork that you'll be able to keep on file. Don't be overwhelmed by that. And again, we have coaches that'll help you work through what all is necessary in order to keep just the quality and assurance that's required for the records. Next slide, please. Okay, I'm not going to take a deep dive into this, just the ratios. There is a ratio that's required between the apprentice and the journey workers. There's a probationary period, as you well know, that is determined by the employer. So it just cannot exceed 25% of the length of the program or a year, whichever is shorter. Next slide. So safety is at the helm of the major components of apprenticeship, as we all know. So there must be safety, there must be safety training, there must be supervision for that training. So just make sure that when you are promoting your program, that is something that is clearly communicated. I know that whenever we're working with youth, especially, that is something that makes mamas and daddies feel a lot better about their students going into especially more strenuous type occupations. But safety is a huge element, and it should be stressed over and over and over again. So make sure that is something that you have established within your program standards. Age, this is something fairly new for many of us. Being able to start an individual at 16 years of age, that is where I decided to camp out. I really have enjoyed working within high school students, as well as individuals that are up to 21 years of age. That 16 to 21-year-old age range is considered youth apprenticeships. However, their apprenticeships aren't any different than the adult apprenticeships. It's just we wanted to be able to start monitoring what it looks like for a 16-year-old, 17-year-old to start, and to see, what this looks like for them in the apprenticeship opportunities. And what we have found, I know working with IWSI America, we wound up having thousands of youth register under our youth apprenticeship initiative. And so just put my little plug in there because I love Generation Z. Do not disregard that generation of workforce. I met with manufacturers just this past Monday in the St. Louis area, had 10 manufacturers show up for a lunch and learn, and they are eager to join and be able to participate with the youth apprenticeship opportunities and being able to hire these students specifically in manufacturing, which is something that is really setting a new precedent. So it's very exciting. So do not disregard our youth. Consider individuals that are 16 years or older. The placement of an apprenticeship under a written apprenticeship agreement, that's basically the 671 document, and that is automatically generated through Rapids or through your state agencies processes. So you just have to make sure that you have a written agreement with the apprentice. They need to know what they're getting involved in, right? So next slide, please. Okay, you can give individuals advanced standing or credit for what they have already done, what they've already worked in within that occupation career pathway. So just know that is an opportunity that's very exciting for individuals to be able to get credit for what they have already done. There is an opportunity to be able to transfer an individual. So if there's an apprentice that you have worked on and worked with, and they have decided to change and go to another company for whatever reason, you find another employer that is willing to accept that transfer. It's a very simple process to be able to transfer them over into another employer's apprenticeship program. So that is definitely a possibility if that is something that you would like to do. Next slide. So mentoring is a huge part of apprenticeship, as you well know, part of those 5 top components of apprenticeship. So making sure that you have qualified personnel that are training, that are coming alongside that individual, not only for the training of the actual occupation, but I just like to add a little relational thing in here when we talk about mentoring. We've all been the new person on the job. And I just think it's really important that when a person is first starting, there is someone there that is placed, that is just a safe place to land. It may be just the simple things like, what do I wear to the employee, to the employer picnic, or just helping them maneuver through some of the insecurities that we all have, regardless if you're an adult or a youth, right? So making sure that mentoring is stressed as you are beginning to promote and expand your apprenticeship programs. Amazing mentor trainings out there that I know that IWSI America had participated in. So just know there's some really great opportunities out there to help you build out mentoring programs. We also want to make sure that we celebrate. So when our apprentices meet the end of all their requirements, they have completed all the related instruction and they have met all the requirements to surpass their work processes, regardless if it's time-based, hybrid, or competency. We have a celebration of a national completion recognition. I personally would love to see more of a celebration of this. We celebrate a lot of the signing of our apprentices, but actually when we see them complete, I think that is such a huge part of what apprenticeship is about. And so being able to recognize those people, they do receive a national completion recognition certificate that is portable. I think that's one of the huge selling points of apprenticeship. Number 16, so program standards that utilize all of these approaches and the progression through apprenticeship that they choose to choose interim credentials must clearly identify those interim credentials. So next slide. Obviously, we've already talked about the registration agency. You need to be aware of who that is and work closely with them. There is a provision for registration, cancellation, all of these different opportunities. Again, you'll be working with your registration agency for the approval of all of those next steps. And then there is a provision for registration of the apprentice agreement, modifications and those amendments, pardon me. So just make sure you notify your registration agency. And again, your IREC coaches, they will be able to come alongside of you and help you navigate some of that as well. All right, next slide. So unfortunately, there are situations where there is an individual that needs to cancel, and the cancellation during the probationary period does not have any adverse impact on the sponsor's completion rate. So if it happens within that time frame, for them to be able to cancel, you want to try to make that transpire within the probationary period. But there's just many different situations there, and I'm sure there'll be more training on this area. There is a compliance with the 29 CFR Part 30, including the Equal Opportunity Pledge. So this is a big part, obviously, of apprenticeship, as it well should be. There's an affirmative action plan that you must comply by, which is just a requirement of employment regardless. So I'm sure there'll be another deep dive webinar on this and what that looks like and how you can establish your own. Next slide. So it's important that you have contact information within your organization. As you're building out your program, you want to make sure that there's an individual with authority, that if there is any complaint, if there's any major questions, unfortunately, if there is some type of lawsuit or anything like that, there is someone that is the point person for your apprentice to know who they are to contact for that situation. So make sure you have that determined. Again, one of those things that you can work with your IREC individual of who would be the best individual to do that. Usually it's an HR representative, but and then the records and maintaining of all records. There are requirements by the Office of Apprenticeship and by state agencies. Each state's a little bit different, but with OA, you definitely are going to be using the RAPID system and then the maintenance of the 671s and any other records that are part of your data collection. You want to make sure that you have that prepared for you will have a apprenticeship review that is done in some capacity. Again, SAA states do this a little bit different, but with the OA states, you get a kind of a complimentary one in your first year. They kind of coach you through. And I was really nervous with my first APR because I thought, oh gosh, they're going to come in and do like an audit of me. That is not the purpose of that review. It's basically just to make sure that you're in communication with your registration agency, is to make sure that if you have questions, they're also going to just keep you in compliance. They're just there to help you make sure that you're doing things correctly. If you need to make some adjustments or some pivots, they're there to kind of help you modify and help you work through that. So when you're looking at the recording and maintenance of all your records, don't let that be something that intimidates you. Because again, they're there to help you, it's not an I gotcha kind of thing. So, all right, next slide. So what are you to do next? So the ACE Network and its partners are willing to assist you in drafting your standards, developing and customizing your occupations, answering questions on occupation ratios, So you can read through that. Just basically anything and everything that has to do with getting your apprenticeship up and going. That is what they are there for. And just before we move to question and answer, I just want to encourage each of you to get back to the why. Why are we even doing apprenticeships? Why is this even important? Why is there so much emphasis on this on these programs across the nation? And for me, it comes down to the individuals that we actually get to help. I think if we lose sight of the individuals and the importance of helping people find their best yes within these apprenticeship opportunities, we are looking to help not only the individual, but we're making differences in generations. We're making differences in communities. We're being able to help our employers find incredible skilled labor to be able to enhance and grow our own country. And so I just want to encourage all that as you begin this journey, and for those of you that have been flying the plane and you're piloting all of this, thank you for your hard work. Thank you for taking a deep dive. Thank you for being able to partner with IREC and other agencies to be able to help your program just do amazing things. And so we're anxious to learn from each other. And at the end of the day, if I haven't said it once, I've said it probably 10 times through this. So many people are waiting and eager to help you. Do not do this alone. You have many people to coach you. And no matter where you are in this process, of wherever you are in this whole plane flight experience, we're here to hold your hand and be able to guide you through it. So we're going to be moving in now to a question answer, I believe. So next slide. So do we have some questions, Michelle?
We do have a couple other slides here we didn't get.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Let's see, hold on. There's this development approval process, and then it looked like another slide or two after that.
Okay, so this is just, again, what I've said, just making sure that you lean into the ACE network. They will streamline all of this for you. The development of programs begins with you, and they just look forward to gathering information and to make your program a reality. Sorry, I kind of combined all of that together. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So the tools that you're going to need to begin is obviously your standards, your sample occupation, more processes, there's standard builders, there's working with your IREC and ACE partners, and then there's also the tools located on the Green Workforce Connect. So I believe that is a website you can go to and be able to learn more about that. Next slide.
Yeah, just a quick note on that. The guideline standards that we currently have available are just for the occupation of construction craft laborer. So it gives the example work process schedule and related instruction outline for that, as well as all the rest of a lot of the rest of the things that we've talked about today are pretty boilerplate. But there is some recommendations on some of those as well in terms of duration and stuff. But we're working on electrician right now, and there will be several others in the works after that. So continue to pay attention. But again, the current standards we have are for the construction craft laborer. We do also have a guideline, a guide to registered apprenticeships that does also walk through all those sections of the standards and provides a little bit more background about those and the considerations that you'd need to do. That's also on our Green Workforce Connect website. So in the questions, not seeing too much yet. One is, so do you find that apprenticeships have successful outcomes with pre-apprenticeships? Yeah, questions about pre-apprenticeships have successful outcomes to prepare people for apprenticeships. So you talk about that.
Well, pre-apprenticeship, in my opinion, is just kind of where people they're dipping their toe in the water, right? They're trying to figure out if this is something they're really many times they're trying to figure out if they're even interested in this occupation. So just depending on the type of pre-apprenticeship that you're talking about, I apologize, I don't know for sure exactly what specific career pathway or anything that you're looking at, but I do recommend pre-apprenticeships, especially for those that aren't real sure what they're wanting to do, because let's face it, it's expensive to put people through training. It's expensive on them, or it's expensive for, for whatever entity they may be going through for that training. But it's even more expensive for employers to hire people, for them to get into a commitment like apprenticeship, and then they don't even want to do anything like that. So I definitely see pre-apprenticeship kind of being a pre-vetting, to be able to bring the participants into, they know exactly what they're getting into. And I just think that you're going to find a higher retainment for individuals that are confident in stepping in and making the commitment that they'll have to make with apprenticeships. Did that answer your question?
Great. There's a question on whether we help with building pre-apprenticeship programs. And I would say, yes, while we're mainly focused on getting apprenticeships in place, the pre-apprenticeship pathways, we are supporting those employers and other sponsors with those recruitment pathways. So pre-apprenticeships is certainly an option for that. And again, pre-apprenticeships can be pretty wide. They can expose somebody to sort of the career that they're getting into. Apprenticeship is a commitment similar to going into a college training program, right? It's like, what degree are you going to go? What school are you going to go with? It's a very similar decision. Same length of time. You're preparing for an occupation, and it's just a different, pathway to do that, but very similar in that decision. And a pre-apprenticeship program can help, find the right occupation, if it's set up that way. So some of them do explore multiple trades and things like that to say, all right, which way do you want to go? Do you want to be an electrician? Do you want to be a plumber? Do you want to be this and that? Others would be more trying to meet the requirements. So some programs require you to, pass algebra and be able to do all kinds of other things like that. They might help with that. And others are just kind of the recruitment pathway there. So we're happy to help talk to people about the options around that. Next question is, fill out our intake form. Say we've got a brief form on the Green Workforce Connect site. Say, hey, I'm interested, and you type in a little bit what you want help with, and we can point you in the right direction. Question about, are there green career apprenticeships available yet? And the answer to that is yes, but specifically narrowing down into Washington and Oregon. Talk about one specific program we're familiar with in Oregon. Oregon is a state apprenticeship agency state, SAA state, and so they have a little more control of the occupations. They have, and in the state there's a limited renewable energy electrician license in Oregon. So they recognize that as a contractor classification, and there is a 2-year apprenticeship program to become a limited renewable energy technician that is aligned with that state licensed occupation in Oregon. So in that state, it's got a little bit carve out specifically for that trade. In other areas like Washington, you may need to go more traditional occupation routes of an electrician or a construction laborer, like we talked about. Or any number of other occupations that are out there. We've worked with some companies that are doing wind power maintenance. There's a number of wind turbines out in the Northwest. Hydropower is an area as well that's big in that area. And hydropower operator is an apprenticeable occupation. So we're just starting to work with some people in that industry. So I don't have any examples to point you to right now, but for any of these looking for options, go to Partner Finder or Apprenticeship Finder, are the two websites on the Department of Labor's website, and they can refer you to, they'll pull up all the programs that are in that area. We are also building out our Green Workforce Connect platform and trying to populate that. It's a little early on that page, but the next few months we'll have a lot more programs populated specifically for the clean energy related occupations that we've been working with. And then what about IREC in South California? Yeah, and California is its own interesting state. Which I guess I'll pop on video because I'm talking here. Yeah, we've definitely been helping people across California. The construction trades are more challenging in California. You do essentially have to participate in a program that's recognized by the state already. They don't recognize any new programs in the construction trades. But you can also get your programs registered nationally. California is an interesting state. They operate kind of both as a state agency that registers programs for the state, and there's some requirements in the state. There's a law, AB 2143, that treats all renewable energy projects as public works, greater than 15 kilowatts, essentially. So any commercial energy projects. And that triggers an apprenticeship requirement for the construction phase. So to meet those state requirements, if you're doing commercial scale work, you're going to need to be registered in the state. And that means participating in an existing construction trade program. If you're not worried about the state requirements, you're trying to meet the federal Inflation Reduction Act requirements, you can register that program federally in California with the Department of Labor, and it will meet the federal apprenticeship regulation requirements. So yeah, we're certainly happy to help talk to you about California specific. If you have any questions about that, we've done a lot of research and support on with people in that state. All right, it looks like most of these were for us there, Cynthia. Let's see what else we got here. Any other questions? I'm not seeing any others there. Gotta put a link to the video library. Yeah, I think you got that, Cynthia, off the Apprenticeship Academy. Is that right? Yeah.
Yes, correct.
I did put a link straight to the Academy in the Q&A. I'm gonna put in the chat here, I just put a link to specifically the ones that are for sponsors, because there's some other sections of that academy that are oriented towards apprentices and towards training providers and others there too. So that's the one specifically for sponsors. Hopefully that link will work for you, getting right to that video content. Any other questions? I'm not seeing anything else popping up. Let me scan through the chat here.
While he is looking for other questions, if you wanted to just put something over into the chat, because we'll be able to save all of this. If there's anything specific that you really would like more training on or have specific questions, I would just encourage you to go ahead and put that over in the chat, and one of our IREP people can reach out to you and help you be able to answer some of those questions. I just like to always put that out on any of my webinars, because we try to cover everything about the standards, but there may be things even outside of the standards that you may have questions on. So just wanted to throw that out there, because they are here to help you. So.
Yeah, and got some good in the chat there, some good comments around the pre-apprenticeships and the types of options and what those might look like. So I'll let you take a look at those. Let's see, anything else?
So I see a question here about VR options. I just had my first experience with a VR bridge, is what I like to call it. We have our very first manufacturing student out of St. Charles County, Fort Zumwalt High School to be specific, that is being hired through with the VR option to have a coach alongside of him. And the Career Technical Education Center did an excellent job in providing the instruction needed for the occupation, but the employer really wanted the assistance of VR as they're bringing in that individual into their facilities. And so hopefully that answers part of that question. There are amazing bridges there with VR and what they have to offer. It's just working with your local programs.
Yeah, and there's a note there on somebody just put in on interplay learning. That is one that we have worked with. It does do some that's what they do, is VR training across the trades. And they are also a sponsor of apprenticeships, and they can help you with that too. So
I'm thinking vocational rehabilitation. I apologize. They're talking about virtual reality training, right? Sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
Virtual reality.
You can work with both rehab too, but VR is outstanding as well. I've seen that working a lot with many different, our workforce development boards here in Missouri actually have the VR training sets, and they are using those across the job centers, and it's an outstanding usage of RTI being provided for apprenticeships.
Yeah. So we are at the top of the hour, so we'll go ahead and wrap it up here. Let me just get back. Oh, there's the question slide finally. And again, next month webinar, we will be delving more into those work process schedules. So thinking about how to create those, what are you defining the on-the-job learning, defining that related instruction that needs to be completed. So encourage you to hop on to that. And with that, I think we will conclude. Again, reach out to us if you have any questions. We'd be happy to provide additional technical assistance and outreach education to help you take the next step. Thank you, Cynthia, for the excellent presentation.
Thank you so much. Y'all have a wonderful day.